whiskey, a bottle of pills.
This is Grit for Life Radio, and I am your host, Nate Parks, and that intro music is provided by Mick Blankenship. If you've never checked Mick out, man, you are missing out. If you love rock music, if you love just amazing lyrics along with some good tunes, Mick is someone who has hit the scene by storm and just all around just amazing guy. Go check Mick out. But our intro music is provided by him. Well, welcome back to Grit for Life. And we want to talk about a few things today, but I just hope that you guys are doing well. It just seems like life is constantly changing. It seems that we cannot slow down. I know that I have a hard time with that so many times, and I have a tendency to wear myself down. And then in doing that, I find that everything kind of starts getting jumbled up. Everything starts getting kind of cloudy. And when we get worn down, we don't have the opportunity to rest our brain. And in doing that, that's where we leave the door open for a lot of different things to come in. And we end up becoming so tired that we're not being proactive with our mind, body, and soul. We're being reactive. And that can lead us to a lot of different issues, a lot of different troubles. But you know what? That's not even what we're going to talk about today. That was just a freebie. That was something that just popped in my mind as I was getting ready, as the intro music was playing. I don't know where you're listening to us or this podcast. You might be listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, YouTube. I don't know, wherever you get your podcast, but I just want to say thank you for taking time out and listening to us. I was getting ready for this podcast today. I was really trying to think, okay, what subject do I want to bring up? And usually when I bring something up, whether it be here on the podcast or whether it be on our workshops that we offer free online through the Facebook group, or whether it be on TikTok where we can be found at Grit Nation, a lot of times it's whatever I'm bringing to you is stuff that I have been working on. I mean, because obviously I don't want to sit there and bring a subject to you or a thought to dwell on when it is not something that I have done myself, or I personally have looked at myself, or I have been reflecting on. And I've been taking a lot of time to reflect. I recently started a new job. I'm already moving into a different position with that new job. School's getting started, and my wife being a teacher, and my two youngest still being in high school. A lot of things have been taking place. And being someone who runs an organization like Grit for Life, we try our best to always be focused on the mind, body, and soul portion, and encouraging you to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. But obviously, it is an organization. It is a business per se, and so we do look at analytics. We take a look at what is working, what is not working. Where are we spending our time, and is it worth spending our time there? And so I've been doing a lot of that over the last couple of weeks, and noticed some of our analytics have been dropping off, and that led me down a path of self-reflection that I wanted to share with you today, because I think we each can actually benefit from this. My wife and my kids laugh because I really do try to make everything in life a learning opportunity, at least for myself. Maybe not for anybody else. And maybe sometimes the way I look at things in life, it's not the way that other people would look at them, but I at least try to learn something about myself. And so in looking at the analytics and looking at some of our numbers that I started dropping off here and there in different areas, one of the things that hit me was in a time that is so focused on social media, likes, hearts, follows, when analytics drop off, I have seen where many people will tie that into their own self-worth. And so when their analytics start dropping off, they start feeling bad about themselves, and they start changing things about themselves to make them make their analytics go up, make their hearts go up, make their likes go up, make their follows go up with hope of bringing those numbers up. But in doing so, many times they lose themselves. And so down the rabbit hole I went. I started thinking about how many of us struggle with self-esteem and truly liking ourselves. We want others to like us. We want society to accept us as we are. And yet we miss the full foundation of the most important part of that is, do we like ourselves? You ever been around one of those, I call them soul vampires? You know, those individuals that you will hang around and you will look to please them. You want them to like you, and all they do is leech off of you. They soak you dry and leave you off to the side as they go somewhere else. I call them soul vampires. They're like a vampire sucking the blood, sucking the life source out of you. Why do we do that? Why do we allow individuals like that, social media, society, to leech us? Many times, again, as I stated, it's because we have come to a point that we have forgotten to like ourselves and to love ourselves first. The important thing, and the reason that is important, is because once we have established a true foundation of self-love, truly loving ourselves, then people like soul vampires and society really will not have effect on who we are and how we do life and how we view ourselves. I used to be that way. Growing up, I was bullied a lot. I've shared that before. And I wanted people to like me. When I look back at when I was molested, I will tell you that most likely it was because I put, as an 8-year-old boy, the 18-year-old kid who molested me was someone I looked up to. I wanted this. When this kid started grooming me and bringing me into his inner circle, I was like, oh my God, I've made it. I have arrived, like this cool kid, 18 years old. He likes me. And unfortunately, I have seen people throughout life that will. They're unhappy. They're depressed. They're not where they want to be. And yet they never feel like they can get there. And it's because they're forcing themselves to be something they're not. They're putting themselves in positions they shouldn't be in for acceptance. How do we change that? How can we learn to stand on our own 2 feet, stand strong, look in the mirror and say, yeah, I've got some imperfections. I like my imperfections. Yeah, make mistakes, but I learn from them. That's okay. Sure, I may not be what society says I should be, may not fit in, but that's okay. I like me. That gives us power and strength. How do we get there? It's a long process. It can be daunting. You know, it's similar. I was thinking this morning when I was getting ready for this podcast, I asked myself, I said, what is a good metaphor? And I guess the best metaphor that I could share with you is like, as we are growing up, we don't have a lot of control over our self-image. We don't have a lot of control over really loving ourselves because our world as a child is controlled so much. And we're learning. We haven't matured enough to truly understand our own identity. As an adult, we usually end up struggling to do the same. But the best metaphor I could give is almost like, as a child, it's like we're a brand new company. And someone else has ownership of that company, whether it be our parents, our grandparents, whether it be society, a combination, a conglomerate. And all of a sudden, many times, whether they mean to or not, we find ourselves coming to a point where we want to take ownership of our company, but our company's bankrupt. Our brand is broken. So we have to decide now, once we hit to a certain point in our life, and that point may be different for each person. And maybe your point is you right now listening to this, you have to decide, you know what? All right, so the brand is broken, company is bankrupt. Yep, we're losing money left and right, but we're going to change this. And I don't care what other people say. I'm going to build the company that I want. I am going to build the company that I'm happy with. I am going to build the organization that meets my vision, not someone else's vision. Now, if you were to take over a bankrupt company, a company that has been run into the ground, you have a daunting task ahead of you to rebuild that. It's not impossible, but it's going to be hard. But you can do it. And how do you do it? You set a plan in place. You set a foundation. You say, this is where I want to be. You set a goal. Then you start knocking away and chipping away at the things that need to be done. You might have to make cuts. You might have to bring in new blood. You might have to spruce it up and change the logo. You say, Nate, you kind of lost me. I thought we were talking about my self-love, the way that I look at myself, the way I am. In order to learn to be able to start truly looking in the mirror and understanding that I am valuable, it doesn't matter how many likes I get on social media. It doesn't matter how many follows I get on TikTok or how many duets. It doesn't matter how many people follow me on Instagram or like it, or how much my friends just ooh and ah over me. At the end of the day, what truly is long lasting and a true foundation is when I look in the mirror and say, this is my company. I get to do with it what I want. And if you don't like it, you don't have to shop here. If it's not for you, that's okay. A few steps to start doing that in your life. One, determine today that, you know what? It's okay to be me. Start thinking back at things that you enjoyed that maybe you let go because someone said they were silly or stupid. My wife and I learned before we really met each other, and then it just enhanced when we met each other, to be ourselves. We're goofy. We are not normal, by no means. And we do things that usually some other people a lot of times may think is weird. Our wedding was steampunk. If you don't know what steampunk is, go Google it. We did our wedding. We had everybody show up in steampunk outfits. And I know that there were some people that thought that was just absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I had people tell me, I heard it through the grapevine. They didn't tell me specifically, but I heard it through the grapevine that they thought it was stupid and idiotic. It was the best wedding I could have ever had. It was fun. It was great. People had a great time. I didn't bother to care what other people thought. As someone who's 45 years old, I have a mohawk. And I have some people say, oh, you're 45 years old. Why do you have a mohawk? You know what? It's my business. This is my company. My body's my business, my company, my brand. Going back to looking at the analytics of Grit for Life, there are certain things I would love to pump up, certain things I would love to build up. And it seems that there are times where people will jump on board and then they let go. They stop. And if I based Grit for Life and myself and my self-worth upon those things, then I would find myself going, oh my God, what did they do? What did I do? Did I not encourage them enough? Did I encourage them too much? Was I too weird? And I would run myself into the ground and probably take Grit for Life with it. So you take a look and I want you to remind yourself of what you love. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's just dancing in the rain. Maybe it's laughing. Maybe it's watching stupid, silly shows. Whatever it is. Why did you give it up? Who told you it was weird? Who told you it was silly? Who told you it was obnoxious? Who told you that's just stupid? Go back to that. Determine today that you will do as long as it does not hurt someone else. And you keep with the ethos of your life. Go be you. Learn to forgive yourself This is important. Forgive yourself that you walked away from you. Forgive yourself that you abandoned the little you that had so many dreams and so many visions. What you will determine is that the more that you begin to be genuinely and authentically you and building your own brand and your own company within your life, and the metaphor of your life, you'll learn to love yourself. And then don't change it for anybody, because what you will find is, yeah, your customer clientele of your life might change. That's okay, because those who don't get you didn't need to be there in the first place. You might go through a time where you don't have any customers, that loneliness. But eventually, new ones will start coming in, and they will be the people that will stick around. But it started with you learning to love you before anybody else could love you. This is Grit for Life. Your response is your responsibility.
Feed us with headlines and drown us in deadlines, choking all the